Hi everybody, Kenny Daigle, KD Cuts. Hope you're having a great day. In today's video, I want to share with you a little template set that I just got in from a company called Castillo Heritage Crafts. This came in my social media feed and I had to have it. I spent something like $70. You have a ruler that has a center and measures out 14 millimeters from each side. Then you have slots for doing oblong if you want to, 15 to 9 millimeter holes, 1 inch spacing hole guide, 7 millimeter corner, 12 millimeter corner. You've got 2 millimeter, 2.5. Let me put that the way it should be. 2, 3, 3.5, and 4 millimeter for edging. A nice little corner radius guide and a chisel puller guide. A beautiful angle with a bump stop. And then a very cool guide for cutting basically elliptical shapes in leather. Now, if you go on Facebook, you're gonna go look for Castillo Heritage Crafts. This set's gonna pop up. I spent about, I want to say $77 on it probably, but this is well worth the money. You can buy expensive, there are very expensive tools out there that do this if you made out of brass and aluminum. But for an acrylic set of tools, this is really, I'm really blown away by what I've gotten here. So I'm going to take some scrap leather and show you how each one of these work and see what you think. All right, first thing, let's take our groovers and check them out. This is really super easy. As far as I can tell, there's a 2 millimeter. Here's a 3 millimeter. Oops, my bad on that one. There's a 3 millimeter. Here's 3.5. And then here's 4. Pretty darn useful, guys. I think I might have just replaced all of my grooving tools. So you can use this. I could use this decoratively, or if you go to the social media for Castillo Heritage Crafts, you're going to see him using this to create a stitch line as well. I like it. Let's move on to our template for cutting or marking ellipses or non-round curvature. So I just got a piece of scrap leather here. I'm going to take this and I'm going to take this one, okay? And you'll notice the guidelines on there, or the guide grid. That's so you can line up an edge like I've done right there. And the first thing I'm going to do is just mark this edge and not cut it. So watch, I'm going to show you. I'm just going to use, and again, I'm just going to mark this for demonstration purposes. I could be using a knife right now if I wanted to cut. And let's say I wanted to do something decorative, and I wanted to use matching circles. So notice got the edges. I'm indexing on that inner circle edge. I've lined it up. And I'm going to do an inside circle. And if I was getting really creative, I would do something like this. And maybe I'm going to tool along these two lines. So this is a very, very useful tool set. You can get really creative with this guy. Very useful. So here are the two right angle jigs. You can use these as a bump stop, something like this. So here I've got my piece of leather, and I'm going to want to do something like imprint something, my name or initials, personalize something. This allows me to be consistently off the edge by a 1/2 inch. This is probably 1/2 inch or 12 millimeters, something like that. But again, it's all indexed. Okay, incredibly useful set of right angle tools right there. Here's the basic ruler. Suppose I wanted to find center on this. I would basically 67. So 67, there's my center. Very useful. If I needed to cut an oblong hole, and Prince is barking. There's somebody walking by. If I needed to do some oblong work, and here's my 1-inch spacing, maybe for a belt, maybe for belt spacing. Now that's pretty thick, so I'm going to have to use something. I would have to use something that, let's see. Yep, now that works. This is my craft tool, one of my modeling tools. So that's how it works. Let me see. Yeah, that works pretty good. I might use something with a less of a profile, a taper, to work with that. But again, I've got it 1-inch spaced holes. If I were doing a belt, I could use that for indexing the holes for the belt. And the last thing is the corner radius jig and the chisel puller slot. I'm going to go to a different workbench to show you how that works. Let's take a scrap leather piece that we scribed on. Let's take one of our chisels and let's use the chisel puller. See how that works, guys? This chisel puller is really a good idea. I guess you could do it either way. Working on, this is a 5/6 ounce leather. This would be especially useful as the leather gets heavier. But that's a really neat idea. The chisel puller and corner radius jig. Now here's a scrap piece of leather we did some round markings on using these circle oval jigs, whatever you want to call them. So let's take that. Let's take the inner one and let's use this as a cutting guide. So I'm freehanding this cut, which I'd like to think I'm fairly good at. Okay, but then And let's see here. This is how I use this guide to mark. And again, I'm just playing on a piece of scrap. So now I am going to actually use the guide to cut with. So use it as a marking jig, but also use it as a cutting jig. Be careful and don't damage your edges when you do that. Now, let's take this scrap piece, case it slightly, and let's tool using okay, so I'm just took a random tool. So these jigs allow you to, can be used for cutting, they can be used for marking, and they're all gridded and indexed. Very, very useful. Now let's talk about the right angle jigs. Let's say I want to do something in the corner of a project. Here's a cross. By having this corner jig, I can correctly and accurately index the stamp on that corner. Now I can make sure that's snug. And again, I'm not doing anything, but I've marked that on that edge. Let's say I want it to be off the edge. Let me get a smaller stamp. Here's a dolphin stamp. So I was able to use this to have that design show up in that corner. Again, the two jigs help you do that. It's called bump jigging. So that's it, the Castillo Heritage Crafts template set. Great design, well thought out, affordable, and I think this would be an excellent addition to your workbench. If you found this interesting, please hit the like button down below and subscribe, and stay tuned for more interesting videos related to doing leatherwork. Thanks, have a great day.